Welcome back. Now, the South African National Editors Forum, SANEF, has condemned the attempts by the Moti Group to stop the publication of more articles written by AmaBhungane. And this comes after reports that AmaBhungane was stopped from reporting on Johannesburg businessman Zunaid Moti and his group of companies by an interim interdict. The court order, which was granted by the Johannesburg High Court, directs AmaBhungane to return documents which the Moti Group claims were stolen and which AmaBhungane is accused of using to write a series of articles labelled the Moti Files. So for more on this matter, we are now joined virtually by SANEF Executive Director Reggie Moalusi and Moti Group lawyer Roux. Gentlemen, good morning and thanks to both of you for joining us. So Mr. Moalusi, let me start with you. Just in terms of SANEF and SANEF entering the fray here, why is it important for SANEF to actually intervene here and what is at stake?
Look, Sakina, it's quite important for SANEF to intervene, and SANEF is strongly considering coming in as amicus here. And we viewed this in the strongest of terms, that it's an attempt really to intimidate, it's an attempt to gag them, to really say you can't go further and you can't do your work as investigative journalists on this matter. You can't report any further. That's why when the initial ex parte order was granted initially early last week, we were taken by surprise. Hence, we engaged with the AmaB's lawyers, and then after that, we viewed it quite strongly, and we said we cannot let it be and not just come in.
So, Mr. Moalusi, the court order granted by the Johannesburg High Court, it was granted by Judge Holland Muter. It directs AmaBhungane to return within 48 hours the documents which the Moti Group claimed was stolen. So, firstly, have those been returned? What is the status there? And were those documents in fact stolen?
Well, look, the last part of your question, we disputed that they were stolen. The documents were handed over by a reliable source. And we also welcome you must remember there was another visual sitting on Saturday that Ulrich knows about. And then both sides, AmaBhungane's lawyers and the Moti Group's lawyers, came to an agreement. So that agreement, we're looking forward to going back to court again. I think by the time we go back to court, SANEF and hopefully other organizations will have come in as amicus. So the order that was really granted last week, early last week, that's the one that surprised us. We keenly watched on Saturday what was going on. And on Saturday, the judge that was presiding over that visual sitting did say, that order surprised him, and he didn't understand how and why it was granted.
So, Mr. Roux, if I come to you, the question that Mr. Moalusi poses there, how the order was granted, AmaBhungane say that they are under legal assault, and this is an attempt to gag them by a court order granted in chambers and without prior notice. So perhaps you could just come in there and explain to us how all of that transpired.
Yes, thank you for having me. We brought an ex parte application on behalf of our clients. And the reason for the ex parte application is because we had been in communication with AmaBhungane's lawyers previously, and they confirmed that their clients were in fact not in possession of these documents that had been stolen from our clients. Yet numerous articles then started appearing in AmaBhungane on their website and being distributed all over the media, which contained these very sensitive documents. So the fact that they said they were in fact not in possession of any stolen documents and then attached those documents to their articles necessitated an urgent application. And the reason why it was brought on an ex parte basis is that if we had given them notice, then there would have been a real possibility of them just destroying or getting rid of the documents, so that it is no longer a dispute. We presented our case to the High Court, and the High Court agreed with us that this matter should be heard ex parte and in camera, which means it's close to the rest of the public, given the sensitive nature of the documents. And the order was granted on Thursday. AmaBhungane then brought a reconsideration application of sorts, also launching their application the day after the order was made, and it was heard the next day in court. And it was then agreed between the parties through an order that was handed up that these documents will not be returned to the Moti Group as yet, but that AmaBhungane agree that they will not destroy or disseminate or get rid of the documents whatsoever. They have been interdicted by the High Court from publishing any further articles based on these documents and based on our clients and any articles that relate to these stolen documents. So our clients, the allegation is, and they strongly believe in this, that an erstwhile employee, Mr. Clinton Panika, who left the group during October last year, downloaded in excess of 4,000 documents from the Moti Group servers and then distributed that to the media and to other parties who are interested in litigating and are currently litigating with the Moti Group. And our clients contend that this is intellectual property. It belongs to the company. There is a criminal investigation going on by the South African Police Services. That investigation is near completion. And should Mr. Panika be convicted of having stolen these documents, which he was not entitled to, then surely the use of the documents by the media would be seen to be unlawful. And our clients are saying that please stop publishing these articles pending the finalization of the criminal investigation into Mr. Panika. And should he be acquitted and found not guilty, then that would obviously strengthen AmaBhungane's case on whether they would be able to make use of these documents or not. But if he is convicted, which our clients strongly believe is going to be the case, then the use of these documents is unlawful. It is intellectual property. It belongs to the company, and it was stolen by a disgruntled employee and sold to the highest bidder. And surely that cannot be seen to be anything close to being lawful. Our clients, not for 1 second, want to infringe upon the freedom of the media, and they are well aware of the important role that the media plays in our society. But the fact of the matter is that if an employee steals documents from a company and sells it to the highest bidder, we cannot have that in a society governed by law. And it would surely hamper and be to great prejudice of companies all over the country if this would be allowed.
Mr. Roux, let's just get a bit more clarity on some of your assertions there. When you say the documents were sold to the highest bidder, what do you mean by that? Well, if
the application is now in the public domain, and if one reads the application, then one would see that erstwhile business partner of Mr. Moti, Mr. Lutsky, is closely connected to Mr. Clinton Panika, who is alleged to have stolen the documents, and that it came into his possession, and through him it then reached firstly the Sentry, which is an international investigative journalism body, and through the Sentry it reached AmaBhungane. And there's no doubt in our client's mind that there was financial remuneration attached to this, and that Mr. Panika benefited financially from supplying Mr. Lutsky with these documents.
So just on that point, Mr. Moalusi, are you aware that money may have exchanged hands in this regard for that information on the Moti Group?
But we don't pay for stories. We don't pay sources to give us stories. So as far as we know, AmaBhungane being an investigative body, like most investigative journalistic investigative bodies in this country, we don't pay sources. We don't pay those sources to give us information. So it would help if ever there's proof that's been finished to say, here's AmaBhungane, they received such payment. But as far as I know, as far as I'm aware, we don't pay for any stories. There's no self-respecting media house in this country that will pay sources to give them information.
So I want to come back to the point about the documents being illegally obtained. But firstly, Mr. Roux, by your own account, the information was not stolen by AmaBhungane. It was stolen by an erstwhile employee of the Moti Group. So how is this different from a whistleblower situation, for instance, why then would the media not publish whatever has been sent to them in whichever way?
Just prior to me answering this question, we did not say AmaBhungane paid for these documents. We said that there's a financial relationship between Mr. Lutzki and Mr. Fanika, and that the documents found their way into the hands of AmaBhungane through Mr. Lutzki. The second part of your question, remember that theft is an ongoing crime. So whoever is complicit in the theft is by implication also involved in it, and could very well be convicted of theft as well. And we are saying that the most important point is that there's a police investigation ongoing here. It has been since January. There's been warrants of arrest that have been issued. There's High Court litigation in Durban that's ongoing. And we are saying that pending the finalization of that legal process, where the South African Police Services are investigating this, there should be no publishing of these documents because they emanate from a crime. Mr. Fanika stole the documents from the Moti Group, and they are now in the possession of AmaBhungane. And as I said, the crime of theft is an ongoing crime. You publishing it and making use of these stolen documents implicates the media as well. And pending the finalization of that should not be allowed.
Mr. Moalusi, we have about 30 seconds, so your final word on this, because Mr. Roux is quite clear in terms of where the Moti Group stands on this matter. Where does it leave AmaBhungane and the media by extension in terms of this particular story?
Look, Sakina, I mean, as the media, we respect the law. We are not beyond or above the law. But one thing that we are quite clear about is that any threat that there's an attempt or a threat to stop us from publishing anything, we will challenge that. We are, as a media fraternity, we are behind AmaBhungane, and we are going to support them. And it will remain to be seen if Mr. Moti says he supports media freedom and he doesn't want to trample on media freedom. So we will see about that. But what we know is that once we go to court on this, we will challenge it. And as I said earlier, SANEF would come in, and we are behind AmaBhungane, and we support the work that they do.
Well, I think both of you made your positions perfectly clear. We will watch this one with beady eyes. Thank you so much, Reggie Moalusi, South African National Editors Forum Executive Director, and Moti Group lawyer Roux, speaking to us about the attempt by the Moti Group to gag, or as Mr. Moalusi said, threaten the work of AmaBhungane. And we'll await to see how the courts resolve this particular matter. But let us know your thoughts on it at Morning Live SABC.